Alright folks, welcome to a new week. I say welcome to a new week, we've already done one episode this week, and that was Hobby Nightmares, or was it Games Workshop Stories? I think it was that yesterday, yes it was. So, today we are going over, with a nice cup of tea, the World Eaters, of course. It is a new day in terms of lore. They are on their way to return, possibly this year, probably next year, to be honest, in terms of Games Workshop. I should think 10th edition may happen towards this summer. That's what I'm thinking. And if it does, the World Eaters will be prime pride of place right at the top of that list. So, it's time to look at another one of the on-the-nose legions. Probably the most on-the-nose that we are ever likely to cover, to be honest with you. The World Eaters, the Legion, where the collective Games Workshop writing staff just sat back and went, you know what? Screw it. Just make them angry. As angry as you can. Even call their Primarch Angron. Save your effort for the other legions, lads. Whilst the World Eaters have been given some more nuance by the Horus Heresy novels, in all seriousness, most of their potential as a legion is still frustratingly left on the table by writers who seem to skip over Angron and his boys for more interesting quote-unquote legions. Even in Angron's own Horus Heresy novel, Betrayer, he is taking a backseat mostly to Lorgar and his manipulations. So let's dive into the World Eaters and see if we can't divulge more of what makes them tick. Let's see if we can get any more out of them than what Games Workshop has attempted. We always start with the good on this channel. Good news first. And you'll be glad to know that the good far outweighs the bad as far as I'm concerned in terms of the World Eaters. As far as I'm concerned, no Traitor Legion has as much potential as the World Eaters, and the core themes of the Legion that are hinted at are absolutely superb. The issue is their single dimension and the obsession with Games Workshop writers over this single dimension. Anger. The World Eaters are a legion that gets their later years absolutely spot on. A wonderful and tragic warping of what they were once meant to be. The Butcher's Nails do a great job of taking control away from the Legion and showing what happens when the relationship between father and son, Primarch and Marine, is toxic and only ever going in one direction, and that's from the Marine to the father, rather than the other way around. The World Eaters give everything up for the mere chance of emulating and being respected by their Primarch. Of course it does not work, but the tragedy of it is very clear, and is one of the best founding pillars of what makes the World Eaters interesting. Their colour scheme is the best of any Horus Heresy Legion. At least pre-Heresy. There, I said it. I love it. The blue trimmed white shows almost how naive they seem to be, as they want to be heroes and honourable warriors. It also allows the blood that they spill to be blasted loud and proud over the white as they tear through the enemy. Whenever I see a clean World Eaters force with a little blood splattered over them, mainly their arms, I fall a little more in love with the look of the Legion, and only their lore really holds me back from diving headfirst into getting a force of my own. Let's look at the two pillars of the World Eaters, shall we? Angron and Kharn. Angron, for a long time, was considered the most straightforward of Primarchs. Only in recent years have his early times been given any real depth at all. Which is a shame, really, as far as I'm concerned. We learned that as gladiators, Angron was actually someone who could ease the pain in others, who could take away their hardship either as they slept or in waking hours. This was a literal power, as in Angron literally was taking away the pain and dispelling it from his allies, or the gladiators, right, and their families, or the slaves. I have heard folks describe what Angron could have been as an apothecary Primarch, and to that I doff my cap, as I think that hits the nail right on the head, pun intended. The loss of this potential shows what a tragedy the story of Primarch Angron actually is. His road to demonhood and damnation is seemingly set in a way that no other Primarch's is. In a galaxy where even Conrad Kurz readily follows the Emperor initially, Angron refuses. He wants to die with his men, a clear nod to the fact that whilst his protective instincts are still there, they are buried beneath the wanton violence of the butcher's nails. Him being ripped away from a death he wanted is the thing that breaks his mind. He is stopped from fulfilling his purpose, and really, any semblance of the protective and good Angron died on that hill with the rest of his men. Kharn is a real mirror to his Primarch. Brutal, yes, but Kharn is a warrior of the utmost honour, and it is his deep understanding of the soul of Angron that allows him to speak to his angered Primarch when nobody else could. Kharn, whilst not being protective, is a warrior who values things more than his own life. Things like honour and brotherhood. I firmly believe that the only reason Angron doesn't kill Kharn on their first meeting is because Kharn simply does not care if he dies or not. Honour is all that matters to him. That the attempt was made to speak to Angron is all that matters to him. This breaks through to Angron, and he sees something, a minute something, of himself within his legion. Even then, he still hates them with a passion. Kharn's fate as Khorne's champion is equally as tragic as that of his Primarch, and the potential we could have seen from him to become a Sigismund, or who was one of his greatest friends, or even better, we see that potential snatched away by Khorne. He is the first to undergo the butcher's nails that follows his Primarch into damnation and madness willingly, walking down this path of misery and pain simply because the World Eaters wish to follow and emulate their Primarch no matter where it leads. When the World Eaters' law hits like this, just like the Legion, it hits very, very hard. Alright, that is the good. Let's get into the bad, shall we? Quick sip of tea. Yorkshire, marvellous. So let's talk about that singular dimension, shall we, in the bad section? The World Eaters are angry. Yeah? This is something that, of course, Games Workshop's writing team has latched onto and sidestepped any nuance or deeper meaning in the wider lore by doing so. It is the one crux that holds the World Eaters back and absolutely stops them from shaking off the memery that comes with their Legion at times. Blood for the Blood God. Okay, it's out there. But when you've heard it screamed at a tournament for the 4,876th time that day, it really starts to make you hate the World Eaters, Khorne demons, and anyone who plays them. This should never be the case, and is actually the fault of the meme-obsessed 40k fan base rather than anything specific to a Games Workshop writer. But Games Workshop do lean into these memes. Is it any wonder the more childish, cringe, and toxic members of the community latch on and get obsessed? Listen, I understand if you really like the World Eaters, I understand if you want to scream blood for the Blood God, that's fine, but hearing it all of the time, and hearing people in the hobby boil down to this one stereotype, listen, if you scream that at a tournament, you're not normal, okay? I'm just going to come out and say it. Have fun all you want. Like, laugh and joke and do whatever you want, man. But I'm going to be honest with you. It's pretty cringe when you shout things like that at a tournament. Or in a store, God forbid. Oh my God, I've seen it happen in a store once or twice. Dude, what is wrong with you? The law is the law, great. And celebrate it. Celebrate your army. But, like, don't shout across the entire store. Yes, I'm triggered, but this has happened to me a lot of times. You know, ask any store manager out there. They will tell you it happens all of the time. You get blood for the Blood God and all that sort of stuff. Wah, all the things shouted across the whole store. It doesn't need to be done. And the entire thing melds into the memery that is the World Eaters. This is why I campaign against memes so much. Because they degrade the hobby. You know? Are they funny? Yes, some of them are. And I would actually use them in a very slight way. You know, some of them can be quite funny. But the constant bashing over the head of this, we're angry, blood for the Blood God, skulls for the Skull Throne, blood for the Blood God, skulls. It just goes on and on and on. Just stop, please. Please, they have more nuance than that. The way this seeps into the World Eaters' lore to ruin them is actually too broad for me to cover here, but this reliance on blood gods and chain axes is the downfall of a legion that could have been so much more. In writing them this way, we relegate the World Eaters to only ever being bit part players in other characters' stories in later years. Night Lords, the Black Legion, and even the Carcharodon novels have all had World Eater characters in them. Some of them have been quite engaging, but all have been shadow players in the background. Their sheer violence and need to spread it means they can never really be heard from in their own voice ever again, and this is the true tragedy of the World Eaters in my opinion. We will never get to see truly what they think about things from a first-person perspective as one of the main characters in a novel. Why? They're too angry. They're too mean. Alright, there's the ranty bit over. How would I change them? So this is going to be one of those fixing the foundation so the castle holds up sort of rebuilds, right? From me fixing the Horus Heresy Legion World Eaters, you should be able to pick up the story from there and work out who the World Eaters are going to become quite easily. We can do this with quite a few simple changes, at least initially. Firstly, Angron is not called Angron. Controversial, I know. It's a ridiculous meme name, which suits a demon, but not a normal marine, right? It's a ridiculous meme name created by a Games Workshop that still had characters almost literally called Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah, look it up if you don't believe me. And when the Fortress Monastery of the Rock of the Dark Angels was literally based on a local gay nightclub in Nottingham. Again, go and look it up if you don't believe me. That was the original early Games Workshop. That's the kind of lore they were putting out. That's where Angron comes from. That's where the name Angron comes from. It's lowbrow. It's not well thought of. It's almost like a Monty Python tongue-in-cheek name, right? Use it for a demon, sure, but not for a normal Primarch. It's a holdover we don't need. Remove it. Instead, I'm going to use the working title of Varus for Angron's character, but we can simply change that to whatever you want if you have a better one in mind. I like how Roman we are in the Imperium and in the Eastern Fringe, kind of near to Ultramar. I like how Roman and how violent it sounds. So, our Varus comes to land on Nuceria, a world dominated by a Roman Empire and space faction that is actually constantly at war with the worlds of Konor and Macragge. You see where this is going. The child is taken in by a magnate of the world and a king of slaves. And of slavers. He is thrown into the gladiatorial pit and told to fight others. He is far too powerful for mere men, however, and so they ship in aliens and demons to take on the child as he grows into adulthood. This first brings him into the Eye of Khorne, because of course he is fighting some Khorne demons, right? This is a world that has access to things like that. I don't know how. We can figure that out in another stage, another time. It's doable though. It's more than feasible. Varus forms a surrogate family with the slaves, and instead of actively taking away their pain, he does something else. Varus, in this setting, has Wolverine-like regenerative abilities. What's more, he can take on the wounds and pain of others to instantly heal those around him. The pain, however, is maddening. Imagine your friend breaks his arm, and you can take that from them, but need to go through the pain of your own arm breaking itself, and then reforming in a matter of minutes. Yeah, excruciating. Now, imagine doing this for thousands of times a day, and still fighting in the gladiatorial pits. That's how much of a unit and a beast Varus is. However, this can't last forever. When Varus' master finds out about his ability, he chains him up and forces him to constantly heal his other star gladiators. And this goes on for years. So Varus is constantly healing other people for years and years and years and years and years. He's not even allowed to sleep, because when he sleeps, he can't heal, right? When Guilliman finally comes to the skies of Nuceria, the battle is not going well for him. His attack, however, has unleashed something on the surface that is attacking both sides. Varys is leading thousands of warriors who have had the butcher's nails implanted in them against the magnate and anybody who stands in their way. Varys has also been implanted with the nails as a sort of last spiteful gesture. His regenerative abilities are allowing him to keep them from killing him, and they push him further and further and further, right? So in this setting, the butcher's nails aren't killing Angron. He's mastering them with his own innate healing abilities. He butchers his way across the planet's surface before coming face to face with Guilliman, and the two recognize each other as brothers. It breaks through Varys' rage, and the two clasp hands in an old legionary handshake. I would actually have Varys actually calls Guilliman the Emperor, or something similar, right? Or the Imperator, or his king, right? He calls him like his overlord, sort of a thing, because he sees this guy, he's like, oh my god, it's a guy who I'm supposed to be. You know, he like shakes his hand, and is like, I will serve you, I'll fight for you, man. I'm going to fight for you, right? He kind of thinks Guilliman might be his dad. Which is, you know, crazy, I know, but like, that's me, by the way, it's not your computer. It's crazy, I know, but like, he kind of thinks that Guilliman might be his dad. Guilliman helps the now tortured Varys to rebuild his world. And when the Emperor arrives, he finds his two sons on the sands of Nuceria, and not one. Joyous news, right? The butcher's nails cannot be removed without removing massive amounts of brain tissue. They are Old One technology that the people of Nuceria barely understood. Even the Eldar don't know how to remove them without ripping the brain to pieces. For Varys to use his regen abilities, he needs to be conscious, aware of the pain. This is his main weakness. Should he ever be knocked comatose for a long time, he could actually expire, because his body won't regenerate. So, the Emperor leaves him to his own devices, content that his son is still sane and able to heal and lead his legion. Varys leads the Warhounds, that he renames to the World Eaters, over countless campaigns, initially supporting the Ultramarines. Finally, though, the ways of war of Guilliman and Varys diverge, and the two end up not speaking for many decades. This is because even though Varys has a handle on the butcher's nails, they're still driving him to be more and more and more violent. He is more and more and more violent to the enemies of the Imperium, but still. Varys is slowly driven to violent insanity by the sheer pain of looking after his legion, who he loves as his own sons. Between missions, he sleeps for longer and longer periods, requiring respite from the nails and from keeping his legion in fighting order despite their frontline combat tendencies. So, in all of his waking hours, he's either fighting or healing his legion. And himself, right? This is when the Tyranids arrive. Yeah, that's right. They arrive now, and not after the Pharos incident and all that. The Emperor's Golden Throne switching on is what alerts them. Because I always thought, why did the Pharos alert them and the fucking Golden Throne didn't? This doesn't make any sense. So, the World Eaters throw themselves into the first scout tendrils of the hive mind, turning it back, but losing 3/4 of their numbers in the process. So, the World Eaters at this stage are around 200,000 Marines strong, or maybe 150,000 Marines strong. They lose 3/4 of that in the process of turning back this small tendril, scout tendril of the hive mind, right? This is off in a forlorn pocket of the galactic northeast. No one really knows where Varys and his legion have gone. The impact and death meted on them by the Tyranids was so complete that it drove Varys to complete mental shutdown. In desperation, the World Eaters, because they can't heal anymore, finally opened Pandora's box. They used the Butcher's nails on fully half of their remaining brothers. This scout tendril of the Tyranids was turned away. But their interest, the interest of the Tyranids, was piqued. Right? It's like they put a small finger into this part of the darkness and went, oh, that hurt. There must be something good in there. Alright. It would take 10,000 years for the rest of the Tyranids to arrive, but Varys hears a voice in his dreams that tells him the battle when they do arrive will be endless and glorious, fit for a battle king like himself. I'll let you decide whose voice that is. Varys awakens and finds his legion much changed. Not only that, he must remain in constant pain to keep the nails from killing those they are embedded in. This finally pushes him to the edge, beyond the edge actually, and this is when Lorgar arrives to tell Varys that the Horus Heresy is underway, and that Guilliman has annihilated Nuceria for fear that it may join Horus's side in the rebellion in the absence of Varys. Varys literally cannot move for the pain. He can't fight. He must remain where he is to care for his legion. Lorgar offers to help, and Varys, in his desperation, accepts. It is now that Lorgar enacts a sacrifice to turn Varys into Angron, Demon Prince of Khorne. He has the Butcher's Nails World Eaters under Kharn turn on the normal World Eaters, the World Eaters without the nails. Kharn initially does not have the nails installed, but on hearing that this is the only way to save his beloved father, he readily takes them on, finally, completing a Lucius-like betrayal of his former brothers. The original World Eaters are almost annihilated. Almost. They retreat and rename themselves back to the Warhounds, taking on the white and blue colours, whilst the World Eaters take on a more bloody colour, as in Khorne Berserkers, right? And the Warhounds are under the leadership of loyal champions to the Emperor. So they've not got the Butcher's Nails, they're still loyal to the Emperor, they're out there somewhere fighting away. Now, however, Varys is gone, and Angron remains in his place. The World Eaters follow Angron to attack Guilliman in the Horus Heresy, smashing into his legion like a freight train. It is only now, though, that Angron realises that Nuceria has not been annihilated. Only now that Angron is fighting the Ultramarines is it nuked into nothing by Guilliman. Angron accuses Lorgar of lying to him, to which Lorgar simply states that he told Angron he had seen Nuceria annihilated by Guilliman, not when. Angron strikes for Lorgar, who teleports away, his job now done, because in this setting, of course, Lorgar's main job in the traitor cause is being the glue that holds everybody else together, right? He turns people to the traitor cause and keeps them pointed in the right direction, at least for a time. Angron is on the traitor side of the Horus Heresy, whether he likes it or not. He continues fighting Guilliman reluctantly, and even eventually makes his way to Terra for the siege. Now, he has completely given over to his new bloodlust and need for slaughter and carnage. The Berserker Marines of the World Eaters are only 20,000 strong, but are some of the most powerful combatants seen in the galaxy ever. Whilst there are around 10,000 Warhounds out there, constantly harrying their former allies. This gives a lot of options for loyalist and traitor versions of Angron's Legion. Angron's name works as a demon's name, as it's silly and over the top. Now he is a truly tragic hero, and one that may not even be beyond redemption should the stars ever align to grant him that thing. What do you guys think? Have I gone too far? Is Angron fine as he is? Are the World Eaters fine as they are? Let me know in the description or the comment section down below. I love you a long time. I will be back tomorrow for some more Hobby Nightmares. Love you loads. See you later. Have a good one.